we could see Saigon from where we was at. You could see all the bombs going off. It's just like all red horizon. The Vietnamese were trying to escape. They would fly, if they could fly something that would fly like a Huey, they'd load their family and pack it in with it and fly out looking for a ship to land on. When we looked up, there was Hueys coming off the beach to us. So one of my guys can speak Vietnamese. He said, "Vietnamese ship, helicopter land here. We have a flight deck." The first one landed, they were stacked up like ready to land, one right after the other. We took 16 helicopters, 13 over the side. Well, they were escaping. They had no place to land. They couldn't land on those aircraft carriers because they were full of helicopters and from the people that were flying out from the embassy to the aircraft carriers. So they had to find a place to land. If they ditched those helicopters, they had to ditch, they would have been all dead. So I said, take it on board. Took the first one on board, and I get this question all the time: who gave you permission to push it over the side? I said, look, I grew up in New England. I don't ask permission to do a goddamn thing. I just try to do the right thing. Push it over the side, and then they started coming, bang, 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 13 of them, one after the other.
Nowadays, with satellite phones and instant communication, I don't think any of those decisions would be made. The decisions that were made out in the South China Sea would not have been made without getting express permission from the Pentagon. Couldn't do that then, didn't have the communication. So it was really up to the commanding officer to decide, we're going to take this risk. If it goes wrong, it's on me. And it could have gone wrong in many ways. If one of those helicopters had crashed, one of those Vietnamese helicopters had crashed on the deck and killed a number of sailors, that would have been it for him and his career. But he saw those people in those helicopters, and he realized that if we don't allow them to land on this ship, they're going to die, most likely. They're going to crash into the sea, they're going to run out of fuel. So he made that decision, a split-second decision. It's the right thing to do. We're going to save as many lives as we can.
South Vietnamese Navy were told to rendezvous at Con Son Island. On dawn on 1 May, we looked out there and here's a parking lot full of ships, loaded with thousands and thousands of people. In 105-degree temperature, no water, no food. So my corpsman, once we got there, we put Armitage on the flagship and had my corpsman and the team go around to each ship to see what the material condition was. Could they get underway? Could they move? Because I had to get them out into territorial waters. That was the first task. And we didn't know whether we were going to be shot at, them or us, or all of us.
The Kirk was not a ship that was designed for humanitarian relief. The sailors weren't trained to do that kind of work. And with the flip of a switch, they went from a ship that was a warship, a man of war of the U.S. Navy. They flipped a switch and those sailors became humanitarian assistance givers. And they rescued a lot of people, and they did a marvelous job. So they were warriors. They were trained as warriors, but they excelled at a task that was quite different.
And you just did what you had to do. I don't think it really impacted us until years later. You know, I had to get these people into a safe harbor, and hopefully they would get transferred to the United States. That was the only thing going through my mind. And the quicker we got them there, the less people would die. This is the largest humanitarian effort ever conducted by the United States Navy. I'm emotional about the crew because they never expected to do what they had to do. I just think America needs to know what they did. Maine Maritime Academy played a huge role. And when they realized how many graduates went into the Navy and made careers out of the Navy, or just was in for a 4-year tour, these guys came. They already had a year standing underway watch. They're far better than anybody coming from the Naval Academy who never stood a watch. Think about that. They're experienced. And they come with an attitude, what do you need? What's the job? Let me get it done without whining about it. Others are standing around waiting to be told what to do. They're not that kind. And that's the best I can say.